makers and doers. I'm Dorinda Reisenhuber, and I'm the Education Coordinator for the NASA Oklahoma Space Grant Consortium. And yes, you heard me right, NASA as the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. And then you heard me say Oklahoma Space Grant Consortium. We are part of 52 space grant consortia, 50 in each of the 50 United States, one in Puerto Rico and one in DC. And our state office for our Oklahoma Space Grant Consortium is located here on the Oklahoma State University campus. And I'm actually coming to you from our NASA OKSG STEM Engagement Center here on the campus of OSU. And in addition to us being part of NASA, we are also part of the College of Engineering, Architecture, and Technology here at OSU. So awesome things that we have going on. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into some more rocketry. Now, as you may remember from the last time, we were looking at Artemis missions, or specifically parts of the Artemis mission. And so last time we looked at SLS, Space Launch System. We were looking specifically at the rockets and their fuel. Well, this time we're going to look at rockets and a special term called trajectory. Have you ever heard that term before? You haven't? Oh, no worries. Well, we're going to learn about it right now. But the first thing we're going to do is we've got to make a rocket. In fact, we're going to make a total of 4 rockets today. Are you guys ready to rocket your socks off? Let's do it. Okay, so for this first one, I'm going to show you 2 different ways to make this particular straw rocket. And so for this straw rocket, you need either register tape, it's one of the ways that we're going to show you, or just any type of piece of paper. Construction paper, regular printer paper, color paper, it doesn't matter, and just a regular weight paper. It could even be scrap paper. That's okay too. You're only going to use a portion of this, so that will be fine. So you'll need one or the other. The other items that you're going to need are scissors and some tape. It doesn't really matter what kind of tape. We're going to use Scotch tape today. You're also going to need a straw. Now, this could be a bendy straw if you don't have a straight straw, but if you have a straight straw, I would use the straight straw over the bendy straw. But again, either way works. And then you're also going to need a pencil. Doesn't matter if it's sharpened or not. You're not going to be writing with it. You're actually going to be using it to make your rocket. So the first step that you're going to need to do we're going to make one out of register tape first. So to make ours out of register tape, I am just going to come up here and I'm going to measure this exactly, and then I'm just going to cut. I didn't measure exactly, but no worries. So you're just going to need a strip of paper. Don't want it too short, but you also don't want it too long. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to take your pencil and you're going to put it where you have kind of made a triangle. Can you see that? Above your pencil. Now I'm going to roll that over my pencil, and I'm going to roll until I'm all the way to the end. And actually I'm running out of pencil, but that's okay because I can kind of just make it work all the way to the end. And normally I would do this on the table. I highly recommend doing this on the table and not in the air. It'll turn out much better. But for the purpose of this demonstration, it's better if I put it up in the air so you can see it better. So I'm just going to tape that corner that if I let go of the corner, it would fall apart. We don't want that to happen. So I'm going to tape it shut. And then I can take my body tube off of the pencil, I guess I should say, off the pencil. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take one end, only one, not both, okay? Just one end, and I'm just going to bend it like so. So I'm going to bend it down. Okay, now if I let go, it's going to pop up, isn't it? Yeah, so how am I going to solve that? Well, engineers, never fear. We've got some tape. So we're going to take this tape, and we are going to tape that end down just like so. So now we have our nose cone. It's just a taped end. And remember, you won't want to tape this in. Don't tape it. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut me a small square of register tape. Now when I do that, mine looks more like a rectangle. It's okay. It doesn't matter. And I'm just going to cut off those edges really fast. 1, 2, 3, 4. And when I did, I came up with 4 triangles. Now, you guys are incredible rocket engineers. I know it. And you're going to come up with the most creative fins. But since we don't have a lot of time, I just quickly made these ones. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put each fin on. So I have one fin, I just stuck that on one side. And then I'm going to stick my other fin, and I get to decide where I put these fins. It doesn't matter where you put them. You can put them anywhere you want on this rocket. I'm actually going to put mine on, I know circles don't have sides. I know this body tube is a circle, but I'm going to put it on the other side. So now I've got fins on either side. See that? And let's see, I'm only going to put one more fin on here. I'm going to go ahead and leave the fourth fin off. And I'm going to put this one up just a little bit higher and kind of in between those other two. Okay, so now I have a straw rocket made out of register tape, sorry. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I just have a regular piece of printer paper. So how do I do it if I don't have register tape at home? Super duper easy. I'm just going to go along the short side of my paper, and I'm just going to bend, somewhere between 1.5 to 2 inches probably. So I'm just going to make a strip of paper on there. And so what I did was I just bent that down. Now I can just really fold this crease more and more and make it more distinct. And then I can just rip it apart, or I could cut it. But I want to show you how I could rip it apart if you don't have scissors readily available. All right. Excellent. So now we have a strip of paper. I'm going to do the same thing I just did, only with a strip of paper. So now I'm going to take this strip of paper, and I'm going to roll it all the way around my pencil. Once I get down to the end, and I did not do the best job of rolling that. Let's try that one more time. So I'm going to take this on the corner, and then I'm just going to roll that down, and I'm actually going to do this one on the paper. It's a little bit thicker than the printer paper, and so I think it'll work just a little bit better for me if I roll it on the table. Okay, there we go. And so now I'm going to take a small piece of tape, and I'm going to tape it like so. So now my piece of tape is on here, and it looks awesome. Okay, so now I can take this off, and I'm again going to, with one side, just bend down one side. And again, it will just flop back up, won't it? So I need to tape it down. So now I have a nose cone. It looks very different than the nose cones we made for our fizz rockets, doesn't it? Okay, and then I can do the same thing with the fins that I did with the other. And I'm just going to quickly cut off 2 corners of here to give me 2 quick fins. And so I'm just going to put tape on one fin and stick it on there. Awesome. So I've got one fin on there. And now I'm going to take another piece of tape, and I'm going to stick another fin on there. Okay, excellent. So now I have 2 straw rockets ready to launch. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my register tape one for right now. And it'll be the same for both of these rockets. So I just insert the straw through the hole in our rocket. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have to think about where I'm going to aim each of my rockets. So the first time I want to hit the ceiling. So it all depends on where I want to go, right? As to where I'm going to aim. So I'm going to aim straight up because I want to go straight up and hit the ceiling. Awesome! That worked great. Now I want to go straight down to the floor. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to aim my rocket straight down the floor, aren't I? Okay, here we go. Excellent, and it hit the floor. Now I want to hit a poster that's over on that wall. Now you can't see it, but it's straight ahead. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to blow just straight ahead. Excellent, and I hit it. Awesome job. Now, what we just did is we changed the direction each time depending on where we wanted to land or what we wanted to hit. You know what? That has to do with that T word, trajectory. Trajectory is the angle at which we launch something. Oh my goodness, the angle at which we launch something. That is trajectory. So when we're talking rockets and we say trajectory, we're talking about the angle at which we launch it or the angle at which we set it to go. Awesome, great job. Well, this is just one type of straw rocket that you can make. And again, there are numerous variations. I used printer paper and register tape, but you could use anything that you can come up with in your house to make those and launch them on the rocket. So excellent. Now this next straw rocket that we're going to do, it actually uses a launcher. And I want to show you this because there may be some teachers out there watching this, or there may just be some of you that just love rockets so much that would love to have this type of device at home and be able to build these types of rockets and play with engineering different rocketry designs. So for this, it's really simple. This particular launcher came from Pittsco. And I actually just get the straws from Pittsco because it does have to be a certain diameter, and I typically can't find those very easily out at the regular store or restaurants. We get a lot of restaurants that donate items to us to complete our hands-on STEM activities with students and teachers all over the state. And so I just find it easier to order these so that way we're sure they fit our launcher. And so to make this rocket, it is super duper simple. You just need a note card. You need one of the precision straws, the special straws that fit it. You also need some clay, and you don't need very much. So I have this huge block of clay, but I'm just going to take a little pinch off of it and put it next to there. We also are going to need some tape. So for the nose cone, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take a little bit of clay, and you're going to want to put it on the nose. Now the idea is that you are making the top airtight, just like we did on the other straw rockets. Okay, and I'm just going to pinch off because I don't want too much weight on my straw rocket. I want it to go as high as possible. I wonder what weight has to do with how high my rocket will go. Maybe we'll learn about that in a future lesson. But I want just enough that it's going to make it totally airtight on top. So I have this nice little nose cone. Everyone see that? I made it where it went in just a little bit into the straw and it's all the way around so it's airtight at the top. But the bottom does not have clay. We do not want clay on the bottom. We want that open. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same trick I did before. Where on this note card, I am just going to cut 2 fins this time. And I'm just going to use the corners. Now, again, you guys are incredible rocket engineers and I know you're going to have some incredible fin designs. Cannot wait to see what you come up with. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to tape that just like I did before at the bottom. Now notice I'm not putting any tape over the open at the bottom, but I'm just going near the bottom of my straw on the side and taping that fin on there. Now I'm going to take one more fin and I want to take this fin on there just like so. Now, instead of using my air power, I am actually going to be using air power from my Pittsco launcher, and so Straw Rocket launcher. And I can mess and adjust the angle that I want my rocket at. And I can also, you might see that there are numbers on here, and little dashes, and so depending on what level will be how much pressure is exerted upon that. And so I could also play with pressure or amount of fuel I give to my rocket to make it go. But right now we're just looking at trajectory. So I have set my angle at roughly, it's kind of hard for me to see backwards here, but let's set it for 30 degrees. Okay, so it's set about 30 degrees. And let's see what happens. Oh my goodness, it just flew over an astronaut suit I have in here in the STEM Engagement Center. It went so far. It hit the wall and it would have kept on going if we didn't have that wall there. So incredible. So again, whatever angle I launch this at will help determine where my rocket is going to land. And the angle at which I launch my rocket is the trajectory of my rocket. Okay, the path that it's going to take to get to where I want it to get. Excellent. Okay, so now we're done with straw rockets. The next one that I want to look at is we're going to look at what we call a stomp rocket. Now for a stomp rocket, it does require a launching device. Now these aren't hard to make. This is just 1/2-inch PVC pipe, which you can get at almost any hardware store. And I just cut 3-foot-long PVC pipe pieces. So I needed 3 of those. And then I have 2 smaller ones. They're less than 6 inches. This one might be a little bit longer, but it doesn't matter. They can be, 4 or 6 inches long. That will work just fine. So 2 pieces that are short and 3 foot-long pieces. And then you're going to need 2 of the T-connectors. So 2 of the T-connectors. So you'll see let me take that apart just so you can see what that part looks like at the hardware store. So it's just a T-connector. So then I take all my pieces and I put it together. So without this bottle on, it would just be this piece to this piece. So, and that connects to another big piece. And then we have a big piece that comes out there. And then this is just the 2 small pieces that I've put on with little end caps on there. And that way it'll hold my launcher, so that way I'll be able to launch my Stomp Rocket. Now, that's all great and dandy, but we don't have a Stomp Rocket yet, do we? Let's make our Stomp Rocket, because those are so fun to make. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to need to do is, again, I need paper. It can be any type of paper. So I'm just going to grab this copy paper that I have right here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the one that I launch off of, which was right here at the top of my launcher. And I'm going to use this PVC pipe as a model for being able to create my body tube for my Stomp Rocket. So for that, or as a pattern, I guess you could say, I'm going to see how much I'm going to need of my paper. Now I can do it short ways or I can do it long ways. It doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and do it long ways this time because that would be fun. So I'm going to go ahead and do it long ways, but I'm just going to see about how much of this paper I need. So I can cut it off about here. I am going to want to be able to overlap my paper so that it gets there on there really tight and I can make it airtight. So once I've done that, now I don't want to roll it so tight. I can't get this paper off in a minute, but I do want to roll it tight enough where it's going to be pretty close to the shape of this PVC pipe. So now I'm just going to take and put tape all the way down this rocket. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to put tape in 3 different spots to kind of close it up really fast. All right. Okay, so you can see I've got it closed up in 3 spots. Now I'm going to go ahead and tape the rest of that line so that way it is completely airtight. So 1, 2 more pieces should do me. I think that will be just fine. Okay, so now I have my body tube. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use this leftover paper to make a nose cone. And I'm going to make my nose cone similar to what I did for the fizz rockets in our last lesson or our last video. And so I'm just going to make a small little circle. And as you can tell, my circle is not perfect. And it is okay. It's going to be just fine. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a little pie shape out of that circle. Excellent. And now I have a nose cone. And it looks just like this. So once I've got this nose cone, I can now take those corners and I can twist them around so that I now have a nose cone. But this time I'm actually going to make it as small as possible since my body tube is not very big. And now that I have that piece on, so it looks just like this, now I can put this across one of the ends. It doesn't matter which end, so just one of them. And so now that I will have a nose cone on my rocket. Now when I do this, I'm going to do this in a manner that makes it completely airtight so that no air will escape so that my launch will be successful. That's real important. All right, so now you can see that I have got my nose cone completely on. And it looks like I do have one side that isn't airtight. So I'm going to go ahead and get that really quickly. But I think all my other areas are all airtight. Okay, now, again, I'm going to do this really quickly because I don't have a lot of time to design my fence. But you are incredible rocketry engineers, and you can come up with some incredible designs. We are so lucky to have rocket engineers watching this with us today. Yeah, you're a rocket engineer. Okay, so now that I have my fins on, and again, I just took tape and put them on the fin and then stuck them on here. Mine aren't on perfect, and it's okay. It's still going to fly. And I noticed I did not put any tape or anything across this bottom opening. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my launcher back together. And I'm going to kind of move this back just a little bit so you can see a little bit more of what is going on. Now, let's face it this way so I'll be able to hit it. Normally, I would do this on the floor. So this is probably going to fall apart just a little bit because I'm going to squeeze the bottle. But typically what you do is set this whole launcher on the floor. There we go. Set this whole launcher on the floor, and then you just use one foot to stomp on this empty 2-liter bottle. And I just stuck the empty 2-liter bottle on the end. But because I need to do it up on this table so you can see it, because I don't have any way to show you the floor right now, how we have this set up filming, but you can still get the idea. So you guys ready? All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off! Oh my goodness! And it hit my astronaut suit just standing off camera. So excellent. Oh my goodness. And again, did you see that I launched this at an angle because I wanted it to go that direction? If I had wanted it to go straight up, I would have launched it going straight up. So I would have changed my trajectory from this direction up if I wanted to go straight up. But I didn't. I wanted to go out as far as I could go. So that's why my trajectory was that direction. Excellent. Okay. So we've got one more rocket to make. Yes, we've got time for one more. So this next one that we're going to make with you is called a foam rocket. So for this foam rocket, the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to get a piece of foam pipe insulation, which is about a foot long. Okay, about a foot long. We're also going to gather some scissors and some duct tape and a rubber band. And then something for the fins. I'm going to use fun foam today, but you could also use cardstock, poster board, construction paper. So the flight will vary a little bit depending on what material you use for the fins. But for this part, the way that we're doing it right now, it doesn't matter. Any of those will work. So the next thing that you're going to do, once you've cut, usually these come in 6-foot lengths, so you cut 1 foot off. Then you're going to take your foam pipe insulation or what's now going to be the body tube for your rocket. And we are going to cut one slit the full length of my scissors all the way into that foam. So I've got one slit now in there. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the opposite side and I am going to cut one more slit up. Excellent. Now I'm going to go in between those two slits and I'm going to cut one more slit all the way up. And I'm going to cut one more slit all the way up. So now I have a total of 4 slits in my fin well. So now I can make my fins. Now for my particular fins, I am not going to go too crazy on it right now because we're running out of time. But I am just going to take this rectangular piece of fun foam and I'm just going to cut them into 2 pieces of fun foam. So 2 rectangles, and they're about the same size. So about, not exactly, but close. And I'm just going to do a double check and make sure that so I'm going to cut it down just a little bit so that way I don't have to make my fin well any bigger. All right, so now I know this is going to work in there. So the next thing I'm going to do, now that I've got both of these together, I'm going to make a slit where I cut halfway up with both of them together, okay? I'm only cutting halfway up because here in a second, and I did that halfway in between both sides. Now I can flip it over just like this, and they will fit inside of each other. How cool is that? Okay, so now that I have my fin well, I can stick it inside my slots for my fin well right here on my body tube. So now all I need to do is get some tape to tape this down. So in order to do that, I am going to quickly take a piece of tape, and you can tell I'm going to measure this really, really well. Are you guys ready? Okay. Oh, there we go. So I just have a length of tape. Now I'm going to take this tape and I am going to cut it in half. Sorry, I realized I had a plastic tablecloth on, so I couldn't stick it to my table like I normally do. Okay, now I've got it cut enough. I think I can just think I can just tear it in half. Let's see if I can do that. Okay, that worked decently well. So I'm going to stick this on my jeans for just a minute. And I'm going to take this piece of tape and I'm going to put all of those pieces at the bottom. I'm going to squish them back into a circle because since they're cut, they don't want to stay in a circle. And it'll look just like this. Okay? And then if I need to, I can take my second piece of tape and put it on there to reinforce it. So I'm just going to do that really fast and reinforce it. Okay, so now it's all taped in the bottom and those fins cannot come out. The next thing I've got to do is I've got to get this big, thick rubber band. It's a thick rubber band, not the thin rubber bands. And you can buy those at most office stores and even Walmart, Target, all of those places sell them. Then I'm going to take this strip and I'm going to fold it in half. So now that I have my strip, I'm going to cut one more piece of tape. And this time, I'm going to make it a little bit longer than my small strip. So about so long. There we go. And now I can take my small strip, stick it through my rubber band, and I can put it on my foam pipe insulation just like so. And now I can tape it on here all the way around. So now my top of my rocket is attached. So I put a little holder that holds the rubber band in, and then I tape that all the way around. All right, so now let's launch this rocket, okay? So if I want to reach something straight ahead of me, then I'm just going to pull it back, and oh, I didn't do that so well, did I? And let it go. So that went out in front of me. But if I want to go straight up, so I made my trajectory, the direction in which I launched it and the path it took was straight ahead. So I want to go straight up. So I'm going to make my trajectory straight up. Oh, and it went up. It did kind of come down, didn't it? Because it didn't go up all the way up straight up. But it did go up first. So excellent. So now we've learned a lot of different ways to show what trajectory is. Trajectory, trajectory, trajectory. Can you say that word with me? Trajectory. Well, you've learned how important trajectory is to rocket and how trajectory decides where that rocket is going to go and how important it is to make those angles correct. Well, next week we've got some more exciting rocketry experiments to do with you, and I can't wait until I see you then. So until then, race it to the